Hello, everyone. We're live now from the Instructional Design Center. This is a presentation we were planning on doing last Friday, but we're in Colorado and our schools got closed because of bad weather. So here with me today are Chris Luchs.
Hello.
And Dr. Farah Bennani. And we're gonna talk to you about information and technology literacy and exactly where the intersection of them is happening right now. So to start you out, we're going to give you this as kind of the case study. We're going to give you the case study of Fancy Bear. Now, Fancy Bear really is where information and technology literacy meet these days. And to start you out, we'd like to look at some of your prior knowledge. So we're going to start with, what is information? And to begin with, what is information? Let's talk about what information isn't. So if we were doing this face-to-face, we would do this through a polling app like Poll Anywhere or Kahoot. But instead, we're doing this through live streaming. So we're going to go ahead and do it this way. So your first question is, what is disinformation? We're going to give you just a little bit of time to decide. I think that's enough time.
All right, and the answer is intentionally false or misleading information.
What is misinformation? Okay, misinformation. Okay, so go ahead, take a look.
And the answer is factually inaccurate but intentionally neutral.
What is mashkarovka? Okay, now we've given you the same answers, so we are taking it, so we are allowing you to do process of elimination. So the answer is yes, use of measures for denial and deception. And yes, it is a Russian term. Okay, let's continue on. Now, the next one, and this is something that you might have been paying attention to, this happened within this month. Which news outlet covered this meeting? So you have some choices here. And the answer is yes, Russian state news agency covered this. Not a US one, not a British one. It was only covered by the Russian state media. So that's where we got the picture. So the next one, now, what is snoops? Here are the possible answers. And your choice is yes, all the latest rumors gathered together in a list. It is actually an information entertainment thing where people pretty much go and put on urban myths and other people go on and debunk it. So our next one is, what is DuckDuckGo? Those are your choices. What do you decide? And DuckDuckGo is a search engine that doesn't track users. And the reason why it's important is actually for the technology literacy part of that. You might be looking for information, but you have to realize that every time you type something into Google, Google stores where you've gone. And what comes up is really based on the searches that you've done before and the algorithm that Google has. So it's basing it off what it already knows about you. It's not letting you have a fresh start. It's saying that, okay, based on what you've already done, this is the information that I'm going to give to you. So our next one is, what is WannaCry? Here are some of the possible answers. I know, there's some. Okay, so we might have had fun with a couple of these, but the real answer is, go for it. Yeah, ransomware. It was a ransomware hack that happened.
See, I was always going to say, I will if you pay me.
Oh, okay. Oh,
there you have it.
That is the definition of ransomware, okay?
I will advance the slides if you pay me.
Okay, so go ahead. Okay, and this is our last one. So what is Fancy Bear? Now, we told you we were going to talk about it, but we didn't tell you exactly what it is. So I still think you have, there'll be a little bit of guesswork with these questions. So go ahead, put up the possible answers. And we might have had a little fun with this one. So what is the answer? Yeah, it's Fancy Bear is a Russian hacking group. Okay, so now Fancy Bear does have a Facebook page.
So it must be real.
Yeah, that
they exist.
Yes. Okay, and this is the icon that they like to have up there, a polar bear with the anonymous mask on it.
Yeah, I like Guy Fawkes.
Yes. So here's the thing. We did a little bit of seeing where your prior knowledge was and where you were with this. So I will let Chris now continue on.
Sure. So Fancy Bear. So other than the Care Bears and and some of the other possible options that we had there, where else might you have heard of this term? Well, if you were around in 2016 and you cared about something called a little event called the Olympics, you would have heard of them. They actually sent this out, and they went in and they started looking at the records of you. They hacked in and got some records of doping and records of looking at the doping tests for American athletes participating in the Olympics, and went ahead and released those. And of course, they were all sparkling clean, of course, because no one would ever try to go above and beyond what was actually required. So, what else we might know then? Well, there's a little thing known as the French elections recently occurred. And this is a great piece by The Guardian. It actually gives you a really good background of the different candidates, and particularly about how close things kind of were for these two candidates, which is Le Pen on the left and Macron on the right. And the thing about it is that roughly before going into the elections, they're about a 5% difference in what they're thinking about where they're going to place in the votes, with Macron going ahead and coming out ahead. Then something happened.
So a few hours right before, so Friday at 11:59 p.m. was the deadline for them to no longer do any advertisement or any electoral campaign. Few documents that have been hacked from personal emails from people working with Macron in his election, as well as from the movement itself. And the information ended up being shared on different websites, and about 9 gigabytes basically in mlink to Passivin, and these sites allow you to basically upload and post any anonymous information. Now, the issue that happened with the election, number one, the timing, and the plan was kind of the new thing. How can we try to influence the outcome of the election? And that's the new hacking thing going on, as basically a lot of FBI agents have mentioned for years and years, and basically it is trending right now. What happened in France, those documents that have been hacked, they have leaked some accurate information in terms of finance, as well as some misleading information which were not accurate. So you have the mix, and then a few hours after that, you end up having the hashtag of the week, the Macron leak have been trending. Now, the cool thing what happened in France is kind of there are rules that have to be followed. So number one, by midnight, they cannot do anything. And what happened, the campaign, they come up with the communique, and it was broadcast worldwide, basically prohibiting anyone from redistributing any information. And it was basically followed, because this will end up being a criminal offense if anyone chooses to resend and influence the whole thing during the Saturday. Keep in mind, Sunday, the election was on May 6th.
And the other thing with France is that it has a blackout period, which is the media blackout period, where media can no longer report on anything regarding elections.
That was Saturday, yes.
Yep. And so, but the thing about it, and so this is like one of the reports that's out there from ABC News. This is how it was covered
ABC News, I think.
ABC.
Okay.
So this is how it was covered in the U.S., and it was a hack. So the U.S., we could talk about it because we didn't have a blackout day. But it was interesting because the French media did have a blackout. So they go through and are talking about the different hacks that were going on. And the interesting piece about that information that was released was at least to the U.S. Press, and as well as they finally, the Macron group was able to actually get a statement out saying that, yes, some of the information that was posted is correct. Yeah. However, there is documents that someone else just tossed in there that has nothing to do with that. So there is junk in there that are not official. So it's a mix. And so, of course, what happened then, so this is the U.S. coverage. And then, of course, we have to switch because we are fair but equal and are fair balanced. So this is actually the Russian TV version. Now, look at this intro. Really awesome breaking news. It's real news. It's breaking, in case you missed the first breaking. And then they have this guy, and this guy actually has an English accent, but it's Russian TV. And it's talking about WikiLeaks, a WikiLeaks release that says that back in 2012, the CIA was actually spying on the French president. So this is the only time that you see that it's actually not a BBC, or you actually see that it's actually Russian TV. Is right here, this little bit here that says RT. Moscow, the guy with the English accent is in Moscow, and then this reporter has a Russian accent, and she's in London. So it's kind of interesting. But that's the thing about it is that spying apparently spying or hacking into elections isn't new. But on the Russian side, they went ahead and said the Obama spied on it. So it's like, thanks, Obama. Obviously, it must be Obama's fault why this happened here. All kidding aside. This is kind of interesting to see the take on these two pieces. So the other thing about it is that Le Pen is a much more nationalistic candidate who would have standed to benefit from this leak, whereas Macron was more of the centrist, which was more in line with probably what I think most people think of whenever they think of French.
And he was leading by about 62%. It was the plan to hack all of those documents to find out, okay, if they can help her. She was at 35, and especially with her ideology and the whole, the Front National Party will not fly, especially with her impact on the European Union and what she was planning to do if she had won the election. So.
And so here's some just headlines from French facing. News sites that are out here. This is for Al Jazeera, which is not what you normally think of when you think of French media.
They have the French version, yeah.
And we also have ABC News for Europe. And so that's the warning, media warned not to publish the hacked emails ahead of vote. And then, of course, we can't talk about French without having French on at least one example from Le Monde.
Although Le Monde took a different approach than Libération, they went ahead and they published some of those misleading information or documents, I should say, or the combination of both, versus Le Monde took the approach of, okay, well, we don't have time, and then we'll do this after we review. And because of the timing, and you have the 24 hours kind of a blackout, they took a wise approach.
And you have Reuters. And that, of course, was the big concern, was that would this big, massive leak 24 hours before the election, when nobody could actually, what you would think of, when you first think of traditional credible sources, news outlets, most of us feel that the news that we watch is credible. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't watch it unless you do it for entertainment value, which is interesting. but what happened here is, in the French election, is interesting because those sources of credibility, those people who sort of say this is right, this is correct, this is valuable information, this isn't, were on a blackout. They couldn't talk about it at all. No one was allowed to talk about it. So the voters in France were basically had to make up their own mind about this information and how it might affect the way that they voted.
And since the beginning of his campaign, Macron was vocal, and he did make kind of the French people, if you want, aware that the Russians have been hacking, quite frankly, many times since earlier in his campaign. But everything slowed down until the weekend before the election day. So
it was well planned.
Yes, when you think about it, yeah.
Okay, so if we're looking at this, and if we're looking, well, like, why does this matter? Okay, it matters because we want our students to be able to tell the difference between information, misinformation, and disinformation. Okay, so we'll just do a couple of the quick vocabulary words. Information. Information is data set in a context for relevance. Now, this is data, okay? 138,000 is data. It tells you nothing other than that. But when you put it in context, that's when it becomes information. So the Colorado Community College system serves 138,000 students for the 2016 academic year. Now that's information. So that's the difference between data and information. Now, there's also propaganda out there. And propaganda, now I want to say this, is that most political parties are involved in propaganda, okay? Because according to this definition, it's the systematic propagation of information or ideas by an interested party. So think about it. America First. You have that. You have anything coming out of the Democrats being the same. And like it says, especially in a way to encourage or instill a particular attitude or response. Propaganda does not only come out of the old Soviet Union. Propaganda is usually what we hear when it comes to political parties. Okay, misinformation. Think of misinformation like a mistake. It's not factual, but the intent is neutral. So think about misinformation, mistake. So somebody goofs up. They didn't check things. They got it wrong. They're not intending to mislead you. It was a mistake. And now, compare that. Now, disinformation, that's intentionally false or misleading information. Okay? So that's the difference, and we'll take it even one step further, and we'll go to Maskarovka. And that's actually a Russian military doctrine for the use of measures of denial and deception. Now, I will tell you, every military force tries this in one way or another, tries to deceive their enemy and give them misinformation or do psychological operations, okay? The United States has done it too. But depending on what your students are looking at and where you are, say, in a news cycle or a story, there are different ways that this will be looked at. So let's continue on. Okay, so now fake news. Fake news, highly controversial topic. Okay, I will tell you that some people won't even put this into social media, won't use that term because they feel like they're taking a political stand when they do that. So right now, the definition of fake news is really up for grabs. Now, alternative facts. We really heard that for the first time earlier this year from Kellyanne Conway. I mean, alternative facts is really this idea of pick a door. And I will say that alternative facts has a lot to do with putting that data into context and putting spin on it and trying to spin facts as something that could be interpreted lots of different ways. So we'll continue on. So this is just an example. What we're trying to do now is give our students stories that they can triage quickly. And here's an example of one that you can go ahead and you can take a look at. You might even want to use it for your students because it's still currently relevant. So if you go on to the next
I was just going to say, poor stormtrooper.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Of course.
Even stormtroopers get sick. This is what you don't see in Star Wars.
So here's the question. You can give this a try. Okay, when did Paul Manafort register as a foreign agent? And if we were doing this live, we would have asked you to pull out your cell phones or go onto your laptop to ask this. And what we really have here is we have a link, and it goes to a Google document, and it lets you put in some information. This is one way you can be doing a kind of a classroom assessment technique to check on your students. So the thing about this is that it's a bit of a trick question, because right now it has been reported continually that Paul Manafort is supposed to register as a foreign agent. Well, as of the time that we took this screenshot, he hadn't. There's actually a Foreign Agents Registration Act database that you could go and look up everyone's name. So when you're developing things for your students, think about giving them classroom assessment techniques that can be tested quickly, things that they can go and they can look up, that there's a lot of disinformation or misinformation already there, so that they have to dig a little further. So here are some sources. You can go ahead and read this slide as well as I can, but here are some of the people who haven't just been fact-checking, since the last election. These are people who have been fact-checking for years. And I'd want to also do a shout out to Indiana University. They are currently in beta, have something called Hoaxy. Okay, at this you can type, it's in beta, and it looks like in beta, but go ahead, take a look. You can put something like the Marcone leaks with that hashtag would be a wonderful thing to put there. And then you can look at how many times it's showing up in social media, and also the links to where it's showing up in social media. So it's an interesting tool to start looking at how a story goes across multiple platforms. And this is just to let you know that we are continuing to work on this. This is a work in progress, okay? We will be continuing to find stories that amaze and cause wonder and amazement. I mean, Comey, if he does testify in June for Congress in an open session, trust me, we will find there will be suddenly different ways out there and different ways for us to go ahead and look at things. Exactly.
So one of the questions you might be asking yourself is, from the first slide, is where does technology literacy come in? So what we've been doing is we've been talking to you about information literacy. So also technology literacy hits here. And a lot of the stuff here is, first of all, let's tell you what technology literacy is. So it's more than just being able to access technology. Remember, especially here in education, we've been focused a lot on helping our students access technology, making sure they can use computers in the classroom, making sure they can have access to things. However, technology literacy is not necessarily about the access. It's how well you can use technology. How well do you know the technology you use? Do you understand what's going on behind your screen? Do you understand how things work? Do you know where to go to learn more? YouTube. There's lots of different places to go to find out more about this technology that you use. And in today's society, or probably one of the other goals of this, of the technology literacy movement, is to go, you need to learn more than just how to type things in a keyboard or how to Google things. You actually need to understand what's going on and what might be influencing what comes up on your screen. So why is technology literacy important? Well, because most of the issues we've talked about today, with the hacks and the leaks and everything else, are basic technology literacy issues. It's you picked a bad password. You left it admin1234 or password 1234. Guess what? If it's the same password when you picked up your phone or when you bought the service, guess what? Everyone else has that base password. Okay, it's poor data security. This is the ones where you get issues where people were like, hey, I'm going to download all my student data onto this flash drive, and then I'm going to take it home. Oh, wait, I don't want to go home. I'm going to stop at this coffee shop first. And, oh, okay, I'll look at it while I'm here. And then, oh, well, I'm really rushed to get out of here, so I'll unplug my USB port. I'll put it on the table. I'll put my backpack in. I'll put everything else in my backpack. I walk away, and then I wake up the next morning and realize, hey, that USB port, I must have left it out there sitting at the coffee shop.
And you just write it with FERPA.
Exactly. So don't take data. You can't take it with you. Literally, you can't take data with you. You should not be taking data with you. So poor data security. There's holes in your process and in your data governance structure that allows these issues to happen. Those are things that comes from phishing attacks. By now, everybody should know what phishing is. What phishing with a PH is. It's not a band. It's not a music group. It is actually people trying to purposely hack into your system and gain access through uses of the virus and other nasty things. So if you get emails from people you don't know asking you to click on this really cool link, don't click on the link. But also they've gotten more sophisticated. There's a type of phishing attack called spear phishing, and what spear phishing is this is actually doing enough research on you, like knowing who your supervisor is, creating a fake-looking email that looks like it comes from your supervisor that's asking you to send them personal information on your students. Has happened. This is something that you have to start looking at things and going, well, is this data this person normally would be requesting access to? Some of them, people have given them information, and the people should never have got the data in the first place because they don't have the right clearance to get that data. Again, goes back to data governance. And the other big issue that you see a lot is this last one, which is people failure to update. You don't want to update your browser. You don't want to update your operating systems. We're looking at you, all of you Windows XP users out there. Yes, at some point, you are going to need to move forward because guess what? Nobody's trying to patch your information. No one's trying to keep up and try to keep the Windows XP up to par when it comes to these new attacks and things. It's one of the reasons why people want to get rid of Flash as well, because Flash that's why we're moving to HTML5. So these are all basic technology literacy. You should know how to create a strong password. You should know about data governance and how to secure data that's in your area. It's your responsibility to protect. You should definitely be well aware of phishing attacks. If you have never heard the word phishing before, go talk to your chief technical officer or chief information officer at your institution. They would love to talk to you and tell you all about phishing and what you should and should not do. They would dance if you came in the office and said, hey, I heard of this weird phishing thing. Can you tell me more? Because they've been trying to communicate to everyone about phishing and trying to update everybody. So back to patching. This is an awesome quote. Tweet of the day. Name of it is AN, and this is actually out of Politico for their newsletter, the Politico Morning Cybersecurity. And this was from Out Malwo Jake Williams, and his tweet of the day was, grant me the serenity to monitor the things I cannot patch, courage to patch the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. This is a really, really awesome quote. A very, very awesome tweet. So thank you very much, Jake. This is like really cool and actually very much a favorite, I think, of all of us now. But this is a very good way. So these are things that are going on that, again, you have to understand. You can't just access a technology. Most of us have access to technology. We have something called a smartphone. That's accessing technology. You have a laptop. You have a tablet. You have a mobile device. You have a Surface tablet. Those are all things that allows you to access technology. The problem is now you have to know how to use it. It's like all of us who are probably above the ages of 16 have access to a car. Okay, but do you know how to use your car? Where's the turn signals? Where's the lights? Which side of the street? Same thing applies to technology. So lastly, why should you care? Because, it takes us far to go into the presentation for us to tell you why you should actually be paying attention. So this is an awesome blog, EdTech Strategies. And the person who's written it has done a really good job of documenting K-12 cyber incident maps. And the reason why I chose K-12 to showcase why you should care is because everybody has gone through K-12. At some point in your life. You may not remember it anymore, but at some point in your life, you're at K-12, or you have some family member who is currently going through it or has gone through K-12. So what's happened is these strategies, it's not just political. It's not just elections. Most of these attacks are attacking institutions like colleges, like K-12 institutions. They are trying to get the student information. They're trying to get payroll information. They're trying to get all that information that schools have. And as anybody here who's in an educational institution is, we have a ton of information.
Yeah. We don't know what to do with it even.
And we don't even know what to do with the information.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of it. So this is a really cool setup of an incident of what's been going on in the K-12 cyber attacks. So, noticing a trend.
Okay, we're obviously not safe in Colorado, but we're safer than the East Coast, right?
Yes, obviously, if you're in North Dakota and South Dakota, nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
the hackers haven't found you. You know, they don't know that North Dakota or South Dakota exists. So that's only lasts for a little bit of time. Okay. Yeah. They're going to find you eventually. Wyoming, you're in the same boat.
Yeah, so Lara,
Idaho,
County, college, community college, you're safe for now, okay?
You're safe for now, or the other thing is you guys have done a really awesome job.
Yeah, exactly.
Training everybody not to click on stuff that they don't know who it is. Also, Utah has also got a relatively clean record there. So those are things that you see here. So boom, basically all of the anything east of the Mississippi, you guys been hacked. Yeah. Anything on the coast, you guys have been hacked. Anything in the Southwest, almost, with excluding Utah.
We're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming. They're creeping in. So it's kind of like the mobile networks. They're creeping in. They're finally.
Yeah. Well, actually, this might be a decent map of where you get mobile coverage.
Exactly. It could be internet connectivity or broadband availability. Yeah. Would be an interesting overlay on this, maybe. So in Denver, we've had two such incidents. Denver Public Schools, yay! 2017.
I don't know if we should cheer.
Yeah, I don't know if we should cheer. But basically, it was a phishing scam. What happened was people targeted people in payroll, and they sent them information, and they went ahead and, based on the information that was provided by those targeted, they went ahead and were able to hack their payroll system. Which, of course, as those of you who get paid, there's wonderful sensitive information that you don't want people to have access to. And then what happened is just down south of us, Lewis Palmer School District in 2016. What happened was basically 38 officials were actually confronted by parents about a security breach in one of the platforms, the online platforms they were using. And so what happened was it exposed more than 2,000 student records. So not a good thing. And this was just somebody who basically what seems to be the biggest issue was it just seemed to be like someone forgot to turn on, they didn't set the actual privileges correctly on who was able to see what information and what information was going to be public and what wasn't. So yeah, not a good thing.
In 2005, 2006, CU Boulder, thousands of students' personal information, including social security number, have been hacked as well.
Exactly. So it was not just K-12. It's also happened at higher ed. It's just this was a really good resource that showed us lots of fun stuff about K-12. So the other thing is Doug is the author. So there's his particular information there in the little red circle. But the really cool thing on this site is that when you go there, you keep scrolling down, he gives you all the information. He tells you where did you go. So for instance, where does this data come from? You might want to know that. Well, guess what? There's the Private Rights Clearance House. There's databreaches.net and Identity Theft Research Center. So these are three really good areas for you to start looking at as an educator if you're interested in this area. Or if you're somebody who thinks that you might have been compromised by something, you could go ahead and look and use these sites to look that up. So those are things that you can go ahead and look at doing to protect yourself and look and find this information. So again, it's going to be really important. Why? Because it's starting to hit home. And like I said, if you are in any of those states, then most likely you know examples of people who have, for whatever reason, fallen victim to these type of issues. And it is a technology literacy issue. If people understood better how the internet works and how these different tactics work, you'd be better able to defend against them. So like I said, if you are not, if this is the first time you're hearing about this stuff, go talk to your campus IT administrator. They would love to talk to you. They would love to find out how they can better inform you about how to protect yourself and the institution from these issues. So now, just like they do on C-SPAN, we'll now move into a closed session. Goodbye.
No, I don't think so. but great point. I mean, the thing about it is when you had Director Coates in Congress this week when he was testifying, he said a lot of times, let's go to closed sessions. And I was like, then how are we going to know what information is credible and what information isn't credible? But this closed session sign means we're about to wrap up. And we just wanted to show you something. This is what we've done already with the ISTE Games and Sim Network. And it's looking at it's going ahead and it's looking at a particular game. And let me share my screen. Okay. And I'm going to refresh it. Okay. So the game is called Hacked. And it is actually from Al Jazeera. Now, the thing about this game is that, and I will go ahead and click on next so you can see it. Now, you can give a username and password, or you can do an anonymous login. I usually do anonymous login just because, you know, when it's a game about hacking, of course, you suddenly get paranoid about being hacked. What this game is, it's actually taken the videos from this reporter, from Juliana, and she did the story on the Syrian army and the Syrian army hacking. Now, what they've done is they've basically made it like an interactive fiction. So there's a lot more reading than anything else that you're going to be doing. So this one starts here. Are you ready? We have a tight deadline for your report. You have 5 days to find the maximum amount of information. So you go ahead and you click ready. You wait for it to come up. And then it keeps giving you options. So it's a branching storyline. And it has you making choices. So there, pass by the office, you know, takes 1 hour, or go straight away where there is absolutely no loss in time. So I will let you play this, but you know, with you or your students, this can go ahead and this can be done in the front of a class. You can have them do it home for homework. You can have them go ahead and do it as far as putting it up on discussion boards. You can have them do it in groups, but it actually starts with this really nice like 58-second video. And Chris, if you'll click it, if it shows, great. If not, it's 58 seconds. You can watch it on your own. But basically, this is one reporter's story of following the electronic army, which is a branch of the Syrian army that actually does hacking. And it follows how this affects businesses, how this affected the French government, which indeed did get hacked from this. And it lets you play the game for 5 days. But to do that, you're going to have to make a user ID and a password. If you want to play it in one sitting, then you can just go ahead and play it anonymously. And this is pretty much where we wanted to end up. I think, Chris, you called this our public service announcement about hacking and technology literacy. Well, here's the thing. We've given you some resources. You can play, as an educator, you can play this game and take a look at it and see if it'd be worthwhile for your students to also go ahead and play the game. So we're going to end here. And all we have to say, you know, at the end is is go ahead and live fancy, but not fancy free. I guess that was our point, right, Chris? Farah?
And stay informed. And stay informed.
Yes, exactly. So thank you everyone very much, and we're signing out. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.